розірвати це замкнуте коло, оце нескінченні атаки Російської Федерації, ми повинні підготувати нову армію. Нову армію, яку ми зможемо випустити через 5 років. Тобто Європа це зрозуміла, вона в 23-му році почала формувати новий тип армії. А ми на сьогоднішній день через виснажливу війну не можемо дозволити собі сформувати паралельну армію з людей, яких, наприклад, зараз їм 16-18 років, і зробити з них через 5 років якісних військових. От саме над цим ми повинні зараз думати. Саме ця стратегія з нашими партнерами, як Урсула фон дер Ляйн сказала, Україна повинна стати сталевим дикобразом, ми повинні зараз запропонувати. У нас є стратегічний план, як це зробити. Цей план ми вже предоставили вищому командному керівництву. Це по факту створення паралельної армії.
On October 15th, Russian media South Front Press reported that significant developments have been noted in the Pokrovsk axis. The Russian Ministry of Defense has reported establishing control over Novopavlivka, a key settlement located on the southeastern outskirts of Pokrovsk. The success is linked to recent advances by Russian units in the southern part of the city and the Lazurny micro-district. Control over Novopavlivka is expected to facilitate further advances in the southeastern part of Pokrovsk. Meanwhile, Russian troops are putting pressure on the eastern part of Leningrad. The reports suggest that defenses have been breached in settlements near the city's eastern outskirts. On the 16th, they reported that Russian troops continued their offensive in the Puzomayarsky district of the city of Pokrovsk. They displaced Ukrainian forces from the private sector in the area around Prokofiev and Central Naya and the main streets. According to operational reports, Russian forces have taken control of the Shakporsky micro-district. Furthermore, Russian forces advanced 900 meters into the private sector of Pokrovsk, reaching the city's western outskirts. Heavy fighting continues in the Pokrovsk-Leningrad agglomeration area. Reports are coming in of Russian units breaking through the eastern outskirts of Leningrad and engaging in combat within the city. Ukrainian forces are reportedly conducting counterattacks to hold their positions. Following the liberation of Balagan, Russian troops have consolidated their position in the Molodezny district of Leningrad. Controlling this territory enables Russian forces to establish a stable bridgehead for subsequent operations in the Leningrad-Pokrovsk axis. Recognizing the criticality of the situation, the Ukrainian command has begun urgently transferring reserves to the area. New units have already arrived in the Novy Donbass and Dorozhny settlements. More significantly, the 20th Separate Special Purpose Brigade of the NGU has been redeployed to the sector of the front after being urgently withdrawn from the Kramatorsk and Zhuzivka area. The redeployment of this elite unit clearly indicates preparations for a large-scale counterattack in an attempt to hold the Russian offensive and regain lost ground.
Выстрел!
Now, as of the 17th of October, it was reported that units of Russian troops continue to advance in an offensive within the city of Pokrovsk and in the surrounding areas. Fierce battles are underway on the left flank, west of Pokrovsk, in the Kotliny-Yudachny area near Pokrovskaya mine, and on the western outskirts of the city. Russian units are targeting identified strongpoints and positions in tree lines on the heights, striking with aviation, artillery, and UAVs. Significant successes have been achieved in the center of Pokrovsk. The high-rise buildings in the center are being outflanked along Chalov Street and Evropeskaya Street towards the Industrial Institute and the District Executive Committee. The Ukrainian garrison in the center is most threatened by the advance of Russian units along Zelezno-Drozhaya Street to the east of the railway station and by the breakthrough in the Samarskaya Street area up to the intersection with Prokofiev Street. Only approximately 200 meters remain for the complete encirclement of Ukrainian units within the city center. In the industrial zone to the west of the city, Russian units control over 60% of the territory. Strongholds near the railway fork to the west of the city have been occupied. To the north of the industrial zone, Russian units have advanced to Naberezhnaya Street and the Grishinka River in the area of the 8th Stavok, taking control of the western parts of Korshevobu, Nevsky, and Svoboda streets. The situation in Leningrad remains extremely tense. Fighting continues in the Molodezny micro-district, which Russian troops entered after capturing Balagan and Pokrovsk. An assault on Mine 5/6 and a 16-meter-high waste heap is underway. Russian assault groups have reached the northeastern outskirts of the city in the Shoshenaya and Druzhby Street area and have also broken through from the north in the Novotroskaya and Tevota Street area. Now, as can be seen, these Russian claimed advances largely coincide with ISW's map. And even among biased Ukrainian sources, they had this to say about the past week of the Russian offensive on the Pokrovsk front. In quotations, Ukrainian media Espresso TV reported, unfortunately, the continuous pressure of over 100,000 Russian troops on Pokrovsk is yielding results. The enemy is gradually pushing through our defense. In particular, on the southern outskirts of the city, they managed to occupy the Leonitovichi and Troinda districts, and also entered the streets of the Shakhtarsky district, where house-to-house fighting was ongoing. After capturing Virove, Russian forces directed their attacks along the southern outskirts of Pokrovsk in order to approach Leningrad from the west and tried to collapse our defense around the city. However, their progress here is extremely slow. Currently, the Ukrainian Defense Forces have twice pushed the Russians back in the village of Hershiny. From the east, the Russian enemy is also trying to advance on Leningrad. Its forward units sometimes reach Promin, where they are eliminated. The Russians have not managed to expand the breakthrough from Lyubivka for 2 weeks, which gives hope that the Ukrainian armed forces will cut off the salient. From the north, the enemy continues to consolidate on Chevrony Liman, from where it will press on the northern outskirts of Leningrad. In fact, the city, they admitted, will soon transition to all-around defense. A Russian media Top War reported on the 17th that Russian troops began to storm Konstantinovka, entering the city from the eastern direction. According to the information available at the moment, our stormtroopers occupied first buildings in the Saturninovka micro-district, said the report. The main part of the assault took place last week, and Russian assault units made a breakthrough from Predetichino and entered the administrative borders of Konstantinovka. The day before, it became known that the advance was about 1.5 kilometers from the gardening Yagodka to Saturninovka, over which Russians occupied a complex of cottage buildings on the outskirts of the neighborhood. The Ukrainians tried to knock the Russians back. The new positions of the Russian armed forces were under Ukrainian fire. Military affairs media also noted that Ukrainian servicemen deployed along the Konstantinovka front are increasingly trying to transfer to other units, according to security sources cited by Russian media via Novosti. Soldiers reportedly complain about senseless orders and the incompetence of their commanders. The source noted that many Ukrainian officers leading units in this area operate without coherent strategy, improvising decisions that cost lives. Their lack of tactical planning has led to growing losses among the personnel, they say. According to the report, troops are attempting to move to other brigades in hopes of avoiding the disorder and unnecessary risks that have become routine on this section of the front. However, such efforts often trigger reprisals of their superiors. The official added that even the act of requesting a transfer can result in persecution by commanders, leaving soldiers trapped between following ill-conceived orders or facing punishment for trying to leave their units.
Кинули позиції! Ви 1,5 роки їх тримали! Чого ти, блядь, мовчиш? Яку підтримку, блядь? Яку вам підтримку, сука? Яка нахуй, блядь? Бистро зібралися, блядь, і пішли відбувати позиції, блядь! Я відмовляюся. Відмовляєшся, блядь, відмовляйся, сука! Дай сюди! Дай сюди! Що, блядь, роблю, блядь? Що роблю?
Finally, on the Kupyansk front, perhaps an even more grave situation is unfolding for Ukraine. Russian media reported that Russian forces have reportedly cut off all ground supply routes to the Ukrainian garrison defending Kupyansk, the Kharkov region. The development was reported by the outlet Ukraina.ru. According to the sources cited, Ukrainian troops in the area are now reliant solely on drones to deliver supplies. Fierce fighting is continuing inside Kupyansk itself. To the south, near the village of Rodnoye, Russian units are gradually expanding their control over the surrounding forested areas. Amid the escalating situation, Ukrainian authorities have announced a mandatory evacuation of civilians from 40 settlements located between Kupyansk and Veliki Burlok. There are reports from Kupyansk that Russian troops continue their systematic advance within the city limits. As of the morning of October 18th, the armed forces of the Russian Federation took full control of the railway section to the northwest from the Estakadnaya station to the Kupyansk-Yuzhny station. The resistance of the garrison of the armed forces of Ukraine at the specified station Kupyansk-Yuzhny is now broken. The overpass was liberated by Russian troops a few days ago. Now, I also came across a very interesting article from Larry Johnson, an ex-CIA analyst, entitled "The West's Obsession with Putin." I will read some of the excerpts for you. Most Americans' understanding of Russia, its people, its culture, and its geopolitics comes via a distorted media lens that is committed to propagating a narrative built around a presumed cult of personality. And that personality is Vladimir Putin. Just consider some recent quotes. Mark Rutte, who said this in an open press conference: "I know Putin is listening, so I don't want to make him too wise." Donald Trump, who stated that Zelensky will request Tomahawk missile supplies on Friday, but did not say what his response would be. According to The American, Moscow does not want to end the conflict. Among other things, Trump said, in quotations, Putin was supposed to win this war in 1 week. Now he is entering the 4th year of the war. Inherent in these comments is the ridiculous belief that the war in Ukraine is solely the work of Vladimir Putin, and that Putin is a grand authoritarian dictator who is compelling millions of Russians to submit to his madness. The truth, however, is otherwise. While President Putin is a consequential historical figure and is the face of Russia's resurrection as a world superpower, Russia is a complex society, blessed with strategic depth in terms of minerals, natural resources, industrial capacity, and most importantly, highly educated, competent people. The analyst was puzzled by the Western attitude towards Putin, at least the current attitude, which is quite hostile. He did a systematic analysis of media coverage of Putin starting since 1999. Prior to March 2003, press coverage in the West about Putin was generally very positive. That came to a halt in the March of 2003, when Vladimir Putin came out in strong opposition to the US invasion of Iraq. I think Putin's refusal to be the submissive bitch of the West is the reason for the animus directed at him personally and Russia in general. The analyst has only been in Moscow for less than 24 hours, and he has not been able to speak with a broad swath of people. However, after watching the local TV stations, it is clear that the war in Ukraine continues not just because Putin wants it. An overwhelming majority of the Russian people recognize they are in an existential battle with the West, and if anything, want the Russian government, meaning not just Putin, but the general staff, to pursue the war more aggressively.
Головної мети ліквідації української державності не досягають. Оце дуже важливо. Путіну треба програти, це також звучить дещо дивно, але програти в такий спосіб, щоб він не програв Україні. Бо якщо він програє Україні, якщо ця дихотомія буде чітко проведена у їхньому політичному і ідеологічному полі, він однозначно втратить своє життя.
Тобто він хоче програти великому гравцю, так?
Абсолютно.
Наприклад,